Hey good people, welcome back to Beauty in the Frizz. My name is Cara. Whether you're new or returning, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me for another one today. This is gonna be kind of a different way that I talk about and well, it's not even a review, but do like first impressions with eyeshadow palettes, because I'm actually not going to do any looks with the Seahorse palette. But today what I really want to talk about is how you can maximize the use of the shades in this palette. So if that sounds good to you, keep watching this video. Let me know what you think. And if makeup is your therapy and your love, if it makes you happy and you want to hang out with someone that feels the same way, definitely consider joining the community. I'd love to have you back. All right, let's get started. Y'all, look, if you're new here, I am in the process of combing out my locks. And so I've got locks and I've got my natural hair all in one. So it is coming along. I can't say I'm halfway done, but I can say the progress is being made. I'm actually off of work today. So what's today? Thursday? Filming on Thursday is going up Thursday. Marky has an IEP meeting today. I will keep y'all posted on how that goes. But I was just sitting here thinking about the Seahorse palette by Adept, and as of right now, it is untouched. And I was just thinking about just how expensive, you know, a palette like this can be, and how we are going to maximize the use of this palette. Before we do, I'm just going to share some information about the palette, just as I would do on my regular palette videos. But this is by Adept Cosmetics. It retails for $140. Now, they had an early access email that came out, so I did get mine early, and that came out with a 20% off code. And then they sent another early access. So hopefully if you purchase this, you were able to get it for 20% off. I really hope that you were. If you did not and you paid $140, if you divide that by 15 shades, you're basically paying $9.33 for each of these special shades. Now, if you were able to get the 20% off, that meant that the palette retailed for $112, and dividing that by 15, you paid $7.46 a shade. So I know personally, I can rack up the total when I shop at Terra Moons or Cleona or Sydney Grace or any other brand that I buy indie singles from. But I know seeing that price for a palette all in one can be like, oh wow, this is really expensive. The packaging on this palette is beautiful. I have not taken off the little covering here, but this palette has a 24-month shelf life, and it is cruelty free and vegan. So I'm going to just show you the palette up close. I'm going to turn down my exposure, then we're going to get into these swatches. I'm not wearing any makeup because I'm not doing any in this video. So here you can see the cover of the Seahorse palette. It is like the faux leather, so it feels really luxe. And here is the inside. So we're gonna swatch all of these. I haven't done it yet. I have seen a couple reviews, and it does say do not disturb here. Now, as I said, I haven't watched a lot of reviews, but I have seen a couple, and I do know that most of these, or all of them, I believe, have a sheer base. So I wanted to talk about using a black base so that you can maximize the shadows and almost get a 2-in-1 look. And that's what I'm hoping to see. That's just a way to double the amount of shades. And I think with how much we spend on these palettes, we should know how to maximize how we use them. Lots of brands make black bases, black primers. I know I have one by NYX. You could even use an eye stick. Now this is the one from Vive, and this is in the shade Raven, I believe. I would not purchase this. This one was like $28 or something like that. I would use one of the NYX jumbo eyeshadow sticks. I believe they have some matte shades. And also NYX has a black eyeshadow primer that comes in a pot. So you can get any black eyeshadow primer, and I'm sure you can use shades other than black. I'd be curious what gray looks like, what brown looks like. But we're gonna do black today, and I'm gonna go shade by shade. I'm gonna swatch it without any base, and then I'm gonna swatch it with the base, and then we're gonna look at the shifts and see how they change, see what we like better, and do we feel like it's a big difference between having the black base and no base. So let's do that. Currently it looks like the Seahorse palette is sold out, but I'm sure it is coming back.
bags and then you will go away. I'm not gonna be begging you to stay. Said maybe if you asked me yesterday, I would handle this differently. Things are different, I'm a new me. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So even if you're asking, even if you're asking, 'cause I do what I do, and it's time for something new, yeah. Gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow, can make you grow, can make you grow. Don't wanna be stuck in a spot, telling you it ain't what I thought. Don't wanna be stuck in a spot, 'cause I don't really like what I got, so I changed it bit by bit. It's not ungrateful, just being helpful for me and you. 'Cause we gotta go our own way, gotta go our own way, yeah. This was not a good stay, gotta go our own way. 'Cause I do what I do, and it's time for something new, yeah. Gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow, can make you grow, can make you grow. I don't appreciate the chase. Now there's nothing here for me, yeah. I gotta go, I'll fly away to a new space. You know, I don't appreciate the chase. Now there's no
I just want to jump in here and say that these to me look pretty much the same. So that's a little disappointing because I'm not seeing much difference in these two shades. I don't know, I'm guessing there was some rationale, and they're right next to each other in the palette as well, but I don't think there's enough difference in these two shades.
when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow, can make you grow, can make you grow. I'm telling you that there ain't no other way. Pack your bags and then you will go away. I'm not gonna be begging you to stay. Said maybe if you asked me yesterday, I would handle this differently. Things are different, I'm a new me. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So even if you're asking, even if you're asking, 'cause I do what I do, and it's time for something new, yeah. Gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow, can make you grow, can make you grow. Don't wanna be stuck in a spot, telling you it ain't what I thought. Don't wanna be stuck in a spot, 'cause I don't really like what I got, so I changed it bit by bit. It's not ungrateful, just being helpful for me and you. 'Cause we gotta go our own way, gotta go our own way, yeah. This was not a good stay, gotta go our own way. 'Cause I do what I do, and it's time for something new, yeah. Gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow.
you guys. I hope you enjoyed those swatches. I started off talking through them and then I'm like, I need to put the music on because there's like 15. I have a lot of thoughts and I want to try to make sure that I convey them in an organized way. The first thing I wanted to say is that there are a couple different formulas in here. Some of them have more flaky textures and some of them have chunkier textures. You can probably see, I know this is blown out, but the flakier textured shadows, you can tell it's like this one, this one, this one. And then some of them are really, really smooth. So you have that variety there if you are into different types of textures on the eye. If you are worried about those flaky textures, they always recommend like some type of glitter primer. I would definitely use something like Mayron Mixing Medium if you want to liquefy those flakier textures a little bit more. But I like those. Those really don't bother me. They don't seem to be as thick as the ones in the Minka palette, because I did have a little difficulty with that palette from Adept. The other thing is these two shades, I'm not really seeing the purpose of these two shades in the palette and then being in the palette and putting them right next to each other. It's not really helpful. I did try to show the swatches of these two side by side. I mean, if there is a difference, it is super slight and I don't think you're gonna see it on your eye. So that was an interesting choice for this palette. Yeah, I will say that it's an interesting choice. I think a lot of people were interested in this swirly shade. And I'm not saying I was disappointed, but I'm not sure what I thought it was gonna come out to look like. But what I can say is that up close, you can see all of those like rainbow flecks, which really makes the shade pretty. And I think over the black base, it accentuated those rainbow flecks and you can see them even more. I think that's all I have to say about that. Now, as far as the black base, I don't know, as I got about halfway through, I just started to get confused about the different shifts because with the black base, some of them over the black base looked very similar to some of the ones that didn't have a black base. I feel like a few of them ended up having almost like a, if you're familiar with Pat McGrath, what was that shade? VR Extraterrestrial shift, where it's kind of like the fuchsia to the, like that green. I saw a lot of that. I saw a huge difference with Soft Coral. That was the last one that I did where it ended up, it was like a pinky gold and then it was like a blue-green gold. I thought that was really beautiful. So you can see that you can kind of maximize these shades. But overall, as a whole, I think for me, someone who has a large indie collection, a lot of things are starting to look the same. And because I get confused and can't tell the difference, I have to think about, you know, as a consumer, are these palettes being made for me? And I said this in another video and the answer is no. You know, this is different from other Adept palettes. So I can't say that they've repeated themselves in any way. And I love the theme. And I think all of the shades are gorgeous. I really, really do. At the same time, I can also say that within my Adept collection and then outside of my Adept collection, I probably do have these shades. So the only reason for someone like me to purchase this is either to do a YouTube video on it or because I just want to have these shades all in one place in a palette, which if I want to, I can do that with an empty palette, you know, and put together the shades that I want in an empty palette. So it kind of just depends on what you want the palette for. But I would say, if this is your first Adept palette, this is a good one. You are gonna have to pull out mattes if you want mattes, you know, in your look. And you are going to have to get a black base if you want to kind of double up the shades. And some people might not feel like doing that. They may just want to use the palette as it is, which is fine too. I just wanted to come on here and just talk about how to maximize the use, not just with these shades, but with other indie singles you may have, because these are all, like the description said, transparent and iridescent. And sometimes I want my duochromes and multichromes to have a little more oomph to them. And if it doesn't have a base, you're gonna have to provide a base for them to give them that extra oomph. And if you wanna see the shiftiness a little bit more, you're gonna have to provide that base. And that's why I suggested like the NYX Jumbo Eye Crayon. I think that's a great one. And tons of brands have them. You could even use some type of paint pot if they have a deep one. I'm not sure if they do. You could use that as well. But I hope that this was helpful. Now I can come back on here and do looks. Again, this is most likely going to be a companion palette unless I use the black base. So I could, you know, put the black base like here on the outer part of the eye, blend it out, then take the shimmer all the way across, and then you will get, you know, the iridescent and then a little more depth here on the outer corner, and you could still have it almost be like a one and done look, if that's something that you want to do. All in all, I know this is going to be another hit. It is another hit for Adept. I do think the price did shock people, but when you break it down, I mean, I think that it's reasonable for the amount of shades that you get. Again, the only complaint is that some of the shades do look a bit similar. So that's also something to consider, unless you are a type of person that can see all of those little minor changes. I personally can't. And when I put shades on my eye, you're only like getting this much. So you kind of have to go all the way across the wrist, especially if something shifts more than one color, to really see that. You may not see that on the eye. It's definitely possible that other people will, depending on the angle that they're looking at you from, which is nice, but I want to see it too. But that's going to be it for this video. Let me know if this was helpful to you at all. I thought that would be more helpful than me just showing the swatches and then just like doing one or two looks. I can come back and do that, as I said, but I thought this would be helpful. I'm sure this is going to be restocked. Hopefully this will help you decide whether or not you're interested in the palette when it comes back. And hopefully it'll be coming back for the 20% off as well. So that's going to be it for this video. I am going to get myself ready for Marky's meeting. Thank you so much for taking out some of your time and hanging out with me for another one. I hope this was therapy for you. It always is for me. And until I see you again, make sure you are being gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself nice. Stay safe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.